Christoph, really excited to have you on the Based Space. My name is Mewtwo. I'm the founder of the Based Space, and I'm joined by Chase and Super High, my co-hosts.
Yes, thank you to have me here. And I'm very happy to talk to you. And I'm very curious on all the questions and stuff you like to know. And so go ahead and try your best to bring me in trouble here.
Nah, we're not about bringing you in trouble, man. we're not causing. We're promise we won't cause you any trouble. Well, I always like to know, like, how'd you actually get started in crypto?
Yes, that is quite a while. We have started Etherisc in 2015, 2016. That were the early days. And I'm actually an old man. I have gray hairs, and I'm 56 years old, and I've worked most of my life in the German banking industry, mostly cooperative banks. So in Germany has a large area of cooperative banks. So in total, about 1,000 of independent banks, which form a large network. So actually, I think I would claim that the German cooperative banks are one of the first decentralized organizations because there is no lead. They have some shared companies which provide shared services, and the first 10 years I worked in the bank. The next 15 years I've been in a shared IT provider, which is one of the largest in Germany, and worked there for, as I said, for 15 years. And then I decided to start my own company because that was the time when Ethereum came out. Yeah, and so in 2015, Ethereum was in its early stages. I think it was. Frontier was at the end and Homestead was beginning. And so it was the first time when Ethereum started actually to go mainnet. And I remember they still had a big disclaimer on their homepage. Attention, this technology is not safe. Yeah, be aware. And so it took about 1 year until they removed this disclaimer. And so we started really early in the space. And I remember one of my first adventures was participating in this large Zadeo project. Yeah, you maybe remember that was the first attempt to create a decentralized autonomous organization. It was started by some people from the early Ethereum team, Christoph Jentsch, and he's also a German living in Leipzig and Mittweida. And so I contacted him and talked to him. And this the DAO was a project where you could propose a project and then you could apply for funding. And you maybe remember that was $160 million, a huge sum for that these early days. And so I was already applying for a grant for an insurance project. And that was the start of Etherisc. And then in 2016 already, we built the first version of Light Delay, and it went live in the DEFCON 2. DEFCON 2 was the first big conference where we presented this project, and we got quite a lot of good feedback. And so we decided to make an ordinary business out of it. And we founded a German company, and we also prepared the launch of the DIP token, which then happened in 2018. And that took us a lot of time because we wanted to do it right. And I'm coming from the banking industry, so I knew that regulations are very important if you want to survive on long term. So we took every precaution to do the token sale right. And I think that was also justified because what we have seen in 2017 and 2018, there were many tokens which actually were launched without a proper legal funding. And from in the backside, it was good that we took a lot of time to prepare this very cautiously and with very high precaution, and we were also supported by the same legal guys which helped to launch Ethereum, that is MME lawyers in Switzerland. So it took a long of time, but in the end we were successful, and I think in backside it was a good decision. Yeah, so that were the early days of Etherisc, and so maybe you just let me know what you want to know about it anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for giving us that overview. At a very high level, for people that might not be familiar with Etherisk or the DIP token, you kind of touch on like the purpose of the token and how it fits into Etherisk.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, so the basic idea of the token was always to use it as a staking token. So staking is the fundamental utility of the token. And staking can be done in several respects. So in a long story short, the idea is that everyone who wants to earn money on our platform, yeah, so we are an open platform, and we invite teams to provide services or provide products. So many people can jump on our platform and develop their own stuff and deploy it and run their products. So everybody who wants to earn money on our platform and uses the platform needs to stake DIP tokens. So actually participate, have skin in the game, and this is the main functionality. And so staking will happen mainly in two areas. The one area is the so-called risk pools. So risk pool is a way of providing liquidity for insurance products. Yeah, it's quite similar to, for example, Uniswap or other liquidity projects where you can lock your tokens, lock your assets, and then you earn a certain profit out of it. And the profit is fed from the premiums of people who buy insurance. So on the one side, there are the insureds. They buy policies, they pay premiums. This money is collected in risk pools, and if all goes well, then and the losses are not too high, then the investors in the risk pools will earn these premiums as a form of profit. And of course, the products need to be calculated very carefully that in a typical period of time, there will always be a sufficient and attractive profit for the investors. So that is one big area of staking. The other area is for people who provide other services, for example, Oracle services or data services or distribution services or whatever needs to be done to promote and build an insurance product. And all these people who also earn money on the platform because they will also receive a share of the premium. All these people also need to stake DIP, and by staking DIPs, they can participate, they can use the platform, earn money, and so as long as they are active on the platform, they will need to lock a certain amount of DIP tokens, and this, of course, creates a natural scarcity for the DIP token, and that's also the reason why we think that the more DIP tokens are locked on the platform, the higher should also be the value of the DIP token because the how you say the supply of DIP tokens is limited, and we will also take care that the supply is always in a certain good relation to the demand, and so that would keep the price of the DIP token stable, or in the key case, what we all expect, that the price of the DIP token will also appreciate and more reflect what's actually the value of the platform.
Hey, Christoph, could you touch from like a philosophical perspective around the mission DIP is pursuing? I personally feel like it's a really noble effort to kind of build these products that are essentially laying the groundwork for developing regions around the world to have access to, these financial products to build a resilient economy. So I'd just be curious to hear your why.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so from the beginning, when we started Flight Delay, we have immediately realized that Flight Delay as a single product is very interesting as a pilot, but the opportunity of the whole space is much larger than just providing a single product. So from the beginning, we decided to not build a single product, but to build a whole platform. And because if only we build products on the platform, it won't scale. So we need to build an open platform where anybody can enter. And then it will also scale from the product side. And so we have invested a lot of time and effort in the last years to make this platform open. And today I am very happy to announce that in the next week we will publish the next version of our framework and the respective documentation. We have written a lot of tutorials, we have provided videos, and also the technical platform is now on a new revised level where all of our learnings of the last 2 years have been incorporated, the learnings from the Africa project and all of this. So it will be possible to really use the platform and start building first products. For one product, for example, will be the hurricane protection, which we have also quite a long time in development with an independent team from Puerto Rico. And so this is the core vision, yeah, that there are independent teams working on insurance products, and they can use our platform and as a safe and reliable infrastructure to build their platform with very low effort and very low investment. So the product development costs are really low, and so the product can be very competitive and the premiums low. And this is actually the vision of the Etherisc platform, an open, accessible platform both for the insured, but also for the product builders, which are, of course, the core of the whole thing, that we have interesting products which cover real demand and also offer solutions for a large markets, like the example in Africa, where we have built a blueprint for crop insurance, which currently works in Kenya, but the idea is that this blueprint can also be copied with very little effort for other countries. For example, currently we are working in Zambia. Other African countries are also in the pipeline. And so that is how we want to work, yeah, to build blueprint implementations of specific products and then find regions where we can copy this and so extend the reach of the product to a completely new level. And yeah, so the platform thinking has always been at the core of our vision. And of course, we are also quite sure that only blockchain technology will be able to provide a large part of humanity with insurance products. And that has been proven also in our project in Africa. You know, the farmers there, they have no access to insurance product because the processing is too difficult. The processing costs are eating up all the premiums, and so there is only little money left to cover the actual losses. And with our platform, which is completely automated, we can now offer this product for an affordable price, and we can use the larger part of the premiums to pay the losses. And that is also one of the core principles of Etherisc, that we provide accessible products for people who have currently no ability to purchase insurance products.
Did that answer your question, Chase?
Yeah, I was just thinking about it. It provides kind of a really unique and efficient way for people to kind of provide grants in a very efficient way, without having to kind of like be like on the ground, right? Like if you wanted to like contribute a grant to like a specific network of farmers in a specific region, and it's kind of like you could, in a sense, provide them insurance coverage if you wanted to. So Yeah.
Yeah, the idea is that, of course, we are currently still using traditional payment systems, which are digital already. Yeah, for example, in Kenya, we are using the local M-Pesa system. This is a fully digital electronic payment system, but of course, this M-Pesa system is still based on fiat currency. Yeah, so it's working with banks, and the transactions are very fast, so it happens in seconds. And people have their money on their phone, so they actually don't need a bank account. But of course, it's still fiat money, and it's still banks involved on the large scale. And of course, our idea and the good news is that our partners in Africa are also very open to this and looking into this. The idea is that in the near future, we could also provide each farmer with a digital wallet where he could keep his assets on his phone. And so we would not need the banks anymore. Yeah? So we would create probably a specific digital stable coin, which could be used by the farmers to pay for seeds and to pay for premiums, for insurance, pay for other services in the agricultural area. And on the other side, they also would receive their revenue in this new digital currency from the wholesalers who would buy their products. And these ideas are already in the air. So not yet reality, but many people in Africa are thinking about this, and there are also many NGOs which are working on this because it would reduce the friction of payment systems to a great extent. And so we with our platform, we could seamlessly integrate with such a payment system, and then we would be completely on chain. Yeah, so we would remove the necessity to transfer money then to traditional fiat-based payment systems like M-Pesa, which still are great progress because they are paperless. You know, last week we had the first payouts for the first cohort of farmers. It was also innovative that it was the first time in history that farmers received payouts during the season. And in the past, if a farmer had an insurance at all, then he would receive a payout for losses maybe 2 or 3 months after the season had ended. And so at a point where he actually already needed to plan for the next season. And with our new platform, we have now done the first payouts during the season. So the farmer can even cover his losses and provide the repair for the damages during the season. And so he does not lose a whole season until he gets his payouts. And so that is already happening. But we think that there can be done a lot more by providing farmers with digital wallets and digital currencies. And so a lot more to do. And for example, in the Zambia project, which is upcoming, we are already building electronic wallets where farmers can not have digital currency. That's still a bit too early, but they get digital vouchers, which is something comparable. Yeah? But it's not a fully fledged currency. But a voucher is already something very close to a currency. So the farmer gets a voucher, he can go to his seed provider, he can use the voucher to purchase seeds, and also if he has a damage, then the voucher will be loaded again. And so actually we are starting this circuit of moving assets around on chain. And we are quite optimistic that that will also finally end up in a digital currency model for farmers in Africa.
That's super exciting, kind of just giving the unbanked a way to pay for stuff, and the people that have been left behind,
Exactly.
kind of in these world countries. So I had a question about the risk pool tokens. Could you go in on what tokens are and who could buy these?
Yeah, the idea is people, investors, lock values, so digital assets, stablecoins, STIP tokens in a risk pool. And in return, they receive risk pool tokens in a very similar way than as you receive pool tokens, for example, on Uniswap. Yeah, if you provide liquidity on Uniswap, then you receive pool tokens, and which represent your share of the pool. And the same will be for our risk pools, where you can invest money and you receive these pool tokens. And these pool tokens are ordinary ERC20 tokens, so you can also trade them. And that creates an interesting effect. So on the one side, you lock your digital assets in a risk pool to provide cover for insurance risks. So money is locked. And of course, an insurance policy has a period of either a few weeks in the case of flight delay, or maybe also 6 months in the case of a crop insurance. So the money is locked for this time. And on the other side, investors want the flexibility. And by providing investors with risk pool tokens, they can sell their share on a specific risk pool at a market value. For example, if you have a risk pool and the weather is good, and this risk pool covers weather risks, and you have a good season, then your risk pool token will increase in value because only a few payouts are expected. On the other side, of course, if the season goes bad, then the risk pool token will lose in value. And so there is a market value of risk pool tokens. But also people could then invest in these cheap risk pool tokens because maybe they have some information that situation will improve in the future. And so it creates a new market for insurance risks, and the insurance risks are then tradable. And that is something also which is new. In the traditional insurance industry, you have no way to trade insurance risk, except in very large tickets. Yeah, for example, you have a small market for so-called cat bonds. A cat bond is actually a security which represents a specific insurance for catastrophic risks. And these cat bond securities are typically traded in bunches of $20 million or $100 million. So it's only for a very small circle of investors. So with our risk pools tokens, anybody will be able to invest in risk pools and participate in the trading of risk pool tokens. And yeah, that's, I think, also something which creates a new market and new opportunities, and also, of course, new ways to make investments in insurance risks more flexible and more fungible.
That's super interesting. So while you were explaining that, something popped into my head, and this is just kind of playing like the devil's advocate side of it.
Yes.
What's to stop somebody from using something like HARP to manipulate how the weather is going to be, and then therefore manipulating their payout if the weather is good and or bad?
Yeah. Okay. So we are talking about oracles, and I think there is already there are solutions which guarantee that oracles cannot be manipulated. Talking of Chainlink, for example, which creates decentralized oracles, where many people participate in providing the data for the oracles. And there is something in crypto, we call it a Schelling point. So if there is an objective data source, for example, for weather data, and there are many people providing data for this specific information, then it's very difficult to manipulate, because if somebody cheats, there will be always a majority of people who will try to make their profits out of providing the correct data, and cheaters will lose. Yeah? And the more people participate in this decentralized oracle, the more difficult it is to cheat and to influence the data. And so that's also the way we are going, because the data itself is objective. Weather data is available by public satellites. They can be checked. So it's you would, in any case, you would see very quickly if there is somebody who would try to manipulate the oracle. And actually, if the oracle is really decentralized over a lot of parties, then it becomes really difficult to actually. The cost of the manipulation are very high in comparison to the possible profits. And of course, we will investigate this, and we, as you have seen also in the basic blockchain, there have been many attempts to, for example, for 51% attacks on certain chains, but in total, these attacks have been very quickly detected. And if you look at all the what has been happening in blockchain in the last few years, then the number of these fundamental attacks have been very low in comparison to other attacks like Ponzi schemes, scams, and so on. Yeah, so there have been a lot of these social attacks, but only a very few serious technical attacks, like 51% attacks. But of course, we need to take care for this.
Hey, Christoph. Staying on the topic of oracles and smart contracts, could you kind of walk us through from a conceptual perspective how these immutable and incorruptible smart contracts decide policy underwritings and the payouts of certain policies? I think that's like a really key point of like how this kind of whole system like works.
Yeah, so the core information of each insurance policy is written on blockchain. And this creates an immutable record of this policy. And also each state change of this policy is recorded on blockchain. So we not only keep the pure existence of a policy on chain, but also we keep every single step in the processing of this policy on chain. And maybe you have seen it. We have not yet published it, but some people have already noticed that we are providing a so-called GIF monitor. And the GIF monitor is a website which works like a block explorer for our GIF framework. You can open it under gif-monitor.etherisc.com. And there you can see a full transparency of the current system. You see the products, you see the policies, you see every single step of each policy and stage. And of course, you can click on each transaction and see it live on the, currently we are working on the XDAI chain. So transparency is very important here. And of course, the system itself, we are working on the auditing of the system. So I think the auditing is still in the work, but after we have finished this, we will have a very secure system, which actually is impossible to manipulate. And it's also a very simple system. Yeah, we are, from the technological perspective, we are using much simpler algorithms than, for example, the other DeFi projects like Aave or Curve or whatever. These have very complicated algorithms to calculate their pricing and so on. So on this side, we are much simpler, and much simpler means also much more secure. Because if you have a simple system, it's easier to understand, it's easier to audit. And so I think I have actually not much concerns that our platform will in any way be subject to attacks or something. Of course, it will maybe happen, but we will, of course, mitigate this. But in total, I think the more complex the protocol is, the more options there are to manipulate it. And you've seen, for example, the whole discussion in the DeFi space on minor extractable values and things like this, which can happen if you have DeFi protocols which are very time sensitive. And these are all attack vectors which are not applicable for our protocol. So maybe there are others, we will see, but many of the typical attack vectors in DeFi are not valid for us, and so I think we are quite safe on this side.
Yeah. Also, could you? We have we have a ton of Link Marines in our community. I'd be curious. Could you touch on the relationship that Etherisc has with the actual like Link token and the use cases that it provides for you guys, and how it helps facilitate your own project?
Exactly. Yeah, we have been working with Chainlink for over a year now, and last year we provided the first pilot of flight delay with a Chainlink Oracle, and in our current plans, the flight delay products will also use Chainlink Oracles. The same applies for the crop insurance in Africa, which is a bit more complicated because the pricing of the Africa project is much more complex than the pricing for flight delay. So it creates quite some challenges to build the oracles for this, but we are quite confident. Currently, we are using an off-chain solution, but next step will be in the next season that we fully integrate also the Oracle workflow in the Africa project with Chainlink oracles. And so, yeah, we are not, of course, exclusively linked to Chainlink, but we think that Chainlink is for sure one of the most prominent and most professional project in the space, and currently we see no reason to move to a different Oracle provider. But you may need also consider that we are not the only product providers. So if there is some provider which either provides his own Oracle or decides to build with a different Oracle provider, then he will be always free to do so. I think everybody should make his own decision. We, from Etherisc side, we are partnering with Chainlink, and I think that will stay so because Chainlink is very supportive also to Etherisc. They have given a grant to us for the Africa project, and they have, of course, tons of experience with building oracles, and so we can profit from this experience. And yeah, we are super happy to be in this cooperation with Chainlink, and I hope all the best that Chainlink will continue its success story. And maybe you've also heard Vitalik has also proposed that Chainlink and Uniswap further build their strong position for the Ethereum community. And yeah, so that's our link to Chainlink. Yeah, we hope that we together we get or we will perform more successful projects together with that Chainlink will provide the Oracle layer and we provide the insurance layer. And looking forward to this.
Could you also touch on how these decentralized oracles like Chainlink incentivize claims assessors?
Yeah, I think the idea is that first of all, Chainlink itself provides incentives for Oracle providers, and of course these Oracle providers are paid by people who consume the data in the end, and insurance products are one consumer of these Oracle's data. Yeah? So the cash flow looks like this. People pay for their insurance policy, they pay premiums, a certain amount of this premium is then used to pay for the oracles, and in this way also this will provide a profit for the Chainlink Oracle providers. And the rest of the premium is then used in the risk pool to cover the actual losses and also provide rewards for the risk pool liquidity providers. So the premium has many, so to say, many different parts. Yeah, one part to pay for the cost for services like oracles, one part to cover the underlying fundamental risk of the product, and the last part is the reward for the risk pool investors. And that is actually quite similar to traditional insurance. So the way the premiums are divided and distributed to the different builders of an insurance product is quite similar to traditional insurance. But the friction is lower, and also, of course, the time to market of a new product is much lower. Because once a product is deployed, then it can be changed in a few minutes or seconds. And we can also build products which are self-regulating in the way that the demand for the insurance product would directly influence the premiums and the pricing of the model. And so everybody has an incentive to promote this product, because then everybody will have higher profits from this product. And on the other side, if the pricing is too high, then this would also decrease the distribution of the product. So the builders of the product have also an interest to provide competitive pricing for the insurers. So in my vision, the future insurance product would be completely self-regulated. Yeah. So the pricing would be just dictated by the relation of supply and demand, and the smart contract would then in real time adapt the pricing to the actual demand for this product.
That's super interesting, Christoph. So moving on to the products, could you touch on the social insurance product?
Yeah, the social insurance product was actually quite early pilot from us. It was part of a project which was started by the United Arab Emirates in, I think, 2017. There has not been much going on this area in the last few years, but now with the Zambia project, we are again coming closer to this, because Zambia project is crop insurance, quite similar to the Kenya project, but with a much higher share of government subsidies. So actually, this new project in Zambia has also the aspect of a social insurance, because the government is paying the premiums, or a large part of the premiums, to make the product affordable and also to bring people on the product. And so I think what we will probably not do is a pure social insurance, except the government would decide to commission us with such a product. But in the end, social insurance is probably in many cases government driven, and that's not the area where we want to become or where we want to spend currently our energies. So it's more a byproduct, for example, to crop insurance, and not so much a single product which is sold in as such. Yeah. And so we will see how things develop here in Zambia, and then we decide if it makes sense to develop this further.
So touching on crop insurance, on your timeline, it mentions that in November, you guys will partner with Chainlink to deliver crop insurance in Kenya. Yeah. And then in December, earn support from the Ethereum Foundation. Could you touch on this a little bit?
Yeah, so the crop insurance in Kenya is already live now. And as I mentioned, you can also see it, for example, in the GIF monitor. where we have the first policies on chain and also the first payouts triggered last week. There are some regulatory issues currently which we are solving. In total, we have about 17,000 policies sold there, and in the course of the next days, we will gradually deploy them on chain. And I think the total number of payouts, what we see from the current data, is about 6,000 payouts out of 17,000. So quite one third of the farmers will receive a payout. Yeah, and the idea is that together with the cooperation of Ethereum Foundation and Chainlink, we will build out this product to actually a blueprint for crop insurance for developing countries. So it will not only be used in Kenya, but also for other countries. And that's also what Ethereum Foundation is very interested in, because they have a strong vision of providing people who are unbanked or uninsured with solutions, and so they have a high interest to help us with this project. And I think for Chainlink, it's also the main idea that we prove that Chainlink oracles can be successfully deployed in the insurance industry, and yeah, so that's the idea behind these two grants.
Thank you. Could you also touch on the collateral protection for crypto-backed loans? Would that involve like an Aave?
Yeah, that is a project which we currently have on hold because we have a lot of solutions for this already, like Nexus Mutual, and it's very specific business. And as you know, we are focusing more on the real world risks and not so much on the crypto native risk. And so for us, it's more a question of prioritization. So as soon as we have the other projects launched and running, then we will also consider to provide, of course, protection for crypto native risks. We have, for example, we had a cooperation with Gnosis. Gnosis is one of the largest and best wallet providers for multisigs. And the Gnosis multisigs have something like $2 billion secured. And Gnosis is also thinking about, for example, a crypto wallet insurance, and so also crypto native risks. And but we have.
Did you hit that button on accident?
Christoph, I think you accidentally muted your mic. If you go to the bottom left of your phone, there should be a microphone button.
Hello, back again?
Yes, we can, brother.
Yep.
Can you hear me again?
Yes. You only cut off for a few seconds.
Okay. Yeah, my AirPods are low on battery, so I have now. I'm directly using the phone now, so I hope it works in the same way. Okay. So what was the last question? What you understood?
Yeah, you were just touching on how you're working on real world use cases rather than the crypto native, which honestly is very noble as well, rather than just forgetting the real world use cases and going straight to crypto because we're in such a booming stage. I think is really cool. So in saying that, I guess the last product I have a question about is the hurricane protection. And if you could just go in on that.
Hurricane protection, it has been developed by an independent team on Puerto Rico. Their name is Team Raincoat, and they have a first live product which they sell now in cooperation with a local insurer. But they are also super hot on bringing this on blockchain, and so I hope that we will bring hurricane protection live before the hurricane season starts, actually, this year. So in August or September is the hurricane season. and we want to bring this out before. Hurricane protection is from the product side. It's very simple. Yeah, you have wind speed, which is derived from satellite data, and so there is from the U.S. government. They have very high resolution of wind speed data for this area, of course, because they are also affected in Florida and also in New Orleans and areas like this. So the data situation is actually really perfect. Yeah, you have perfect data. And the team has been working on a statistical model. So currently we have a direct model where we can map wind speeds to damage and to payouts. And the pricing is also quite attractive, and with an insurance premium of about $200, you can receive payouts to up to $5,000. And the crucial point here is that these payouts will be done in real time, and that is exactly what people need. Yeah, many people have hurricane insurance in this area, but the processes are super slow. Yeah, so if there is a hurricane and you have a hurricane insurance protection, then it will take typically 6 months to a year until you receive your payout. And during this time, you have no way to cover for your losses. And the hurricane protection, what we provide, will cover this gap. And the payouts are immediately, so hurricane passes by and wind speeds are calculated, and the day after we receive this data, then we can trigger the payouts, and people receive their money. And that is super important for people which have lost all of their assets and their housing and everything, that they have a quick support and that they can start to bridge this difficult time where they need to rebuild everything with an immediate payout. So that's what we are doing. And because it's so simple, we are actually quite optimistic that we will launch this product in the next few weeks, punctual to the start of the hurricane season in Puerto Rico.
Awesome.
Hey, Christoph, I wanted to switch gears here for a second and kind of briefly touch on your partners that you guys have listed on your website. I believe this is how you pronounce it. Is it AON or is it on?
Aon.
Aon? Okay, Aon. Okay. Could you touch on who Aon is generally, and then also just how is Etherisc working with Aon?
Yes, of course. Aon is the world's largest insurance broker, and we have been in a cooperation for quite a long time. One guy from the management board of Aon is also part of the Decentralized Insurance Foundation and part of the Foundation Council. So we have a direct contact to the management of Aon, and Aon has funded the Sri Lanka co-insurance projects in the last 2 years. And so they are quite supportive. On the other side, Aon is a huge company. Yeah, it's really huge. And so maybe if you have worked with huge companies, then you know that they have a lot of money and they are all probably very interested in innovation. But on the other side, decisions take a long time. And so we were super happy that we received this funding for the Sri Lanka project, which was our first project with co-insurance at all. But now Aon is not directly involved in the current projects. The corporation is currently focusing on the supply chain business. So Aon has some large customers for example, in the food industry. And food industry is closely linked, of course, to the producers of crop and foods. And the food industry has quite a lot of interest to provide protection for these farmers, because if the farmer is protected, then also the supply chain will be more resilient. And so there is quite some research going on with the specialists of Aon, but that this research is currently not mature to implement this in a real product. But the idea is that at some point we would provide a specific variant of crop insurance, which is then funded by the participants of a specific supply chain. For example, for coffee, think of these coffee capsules. And the idea is also that the producers of these coffee capsules would then be able to that the consumers, the end consumers of this coffee, would participate in the financing of the farmers. And so that is part of the social responsibility strategy of these food companies, which are obviously they have a large demand in providing or in showing their social responsibility, because in the past they have not always been on the good side, and they try to change this, and they try to prove that they're also caring for their producers. And so that is part of this overall strategy, but as I said, it's not yet mature. We are working on these projects, and these projects also involve other parties which are building supply chain solutions which are based on blockchain, which track the food delivery and transport. And so it's quite complex, but promising. Yeah. And so with Aon, we have also the one of the largest players in this field. And yeah, we hope that at a
I think we may have lost you there for just a moment.
tone interfered. So what is anything what you did not understand? So then I can repeat.
No, I think you're just wrapping it up. Okay, I just want to make sure I wasn't missing anything. So, well, in addition to Aon, you also, I believe you guys are partnered with, is it Generali, which is another large.
Generali. Yeah, Generali is that was a cooperation in research of a solution for crypto wallet insurance. This cooperation has put on hold currently. So we are not actively working with Generali anymore. They are still on our homepage because we have not finished this cooperation, but there is no active project going on currently. So maybe we will revive this at some point. Same as for Aon, Generali is a large company moving very slow and takes a long time. And currently we are also more than busy with crop insurance, flight insurance, staking. And so we put this project on hold for the next time. But for sure, at some point in time, we will also re-intensify this relationship.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for diving into that on a deeper level. The last one I want to talk about, and I think you may have touched on it earlier in the episode just a little bit, but Acre Africa. How I understand it, you guys are currently insuring over just under 2 million farmers.
Yeah.
So I just wonder if you could just dive in a little bit on that effort.
Yeah, we are not insuring all of the 2 million customers of Acre Africa. We are currently working on a specific product, which is the parametric crop insurance product, which is called Bima Pima. Maybe you have seen the video on this which we published in the last few weeks. And we have another video which is much more detailed also on the process and the exact processing of this product, which will go live, I think, next week. We will also see how it interacts with blockchain and all these details, which are, of course, super interesting. And so this Bima Pima product is currently offered to 17,000 farmers. And if this goes right in the next weeks, which we expect because it's actually running fine, then Acre will decide if we would roll out this product in the next season to a larger set of their customers. And so there are other crops, there are other products with other areas, and so one by one we will go, and the idea is that in the future Etherisc will provide the main technical infrastructure for Acre Africa. And the interesting thing here is that we not only remove the manual steps in the relation between Acre Africa and their customers, but we also remove much of the manual work which is currently done inside Acre Africa. For example, the connection between the actuarial department and the product, the payouts calculations. This is completely automated, and it is the first time that that has been automated inside Acre Africa. And so this provides also a huge potential for Acre Africa. And on the other side, Acre Africa is a subsidiary of ZEP-Re. ZEP-Re is one of the largest reinsurance companies in East Africa. And ZEP-Re has itself positioned as a leading technological innovator in East Africa. And Acre Africa is actually the entity which bundles all these activities. And so we are quite happy that Acre Africa has chosen us as their main technical provider and moving more and more of their technical infrastructure to the Etherisc platform. And so it's looking quite promising. But of course, it will take some time until the customer base of Acre Africa will move one by one to the Etherisc platform.
Very cool. Switching gears to more of the future of Etherisc, what developments are you personally most excited about for the rest of 2021?
Yes, the thing what we are most excited upon is launching the risk pools. So because we believe that the risk pools are actually the most interesting part of the whole insurance value chain. Yeah, so if you know the insurance business, then there are many ways how you can earn money with insurance. But the core, actually the engine of this whole business is the actual risk transfer. And risk transfer is represented by risk pools. So risk pools are actually the holy grail of insurance business. So as soon as we have risk pools live and working with some of our products like Flight Delay and also Acre Africa, then we have actually accomplished the large part of our mission, and the rest is only scaling. Yeah, so that's I think bringing out risk pools is probably the most exciting part of our journey for the rest of the year. And because then we are actually complete and from the technical platform, and the rest of the mission will then be to scale it to all of the markets which are actually promising, and and see what we can do with more teams on board and more people involved.
Yeah, that's super exciting. I definitely agree. It's kind of like insurance-linked securities in a sense. So, yeah, I definitely think it's going to be massive. And from your perspective, like, where do you see Etherisc going in the next 5 years? Like, what's your vision, long-term vision for the company?
Yeah, so actually we want to become actually the platform for decentralized insurance, which is used by any team which builds decentralized insurance products. And so we want to become the market leader in this area, especially for the area of real-world risks. And actually, from what I see, and maybe may correct me if I'm wrong, but currently I don't see any other crypto project which is dealing with insurance risks for real-world risks. And so the market is huge, the opportunity is huge. We have the first live products now. We have concrete vision for implementing the core insurance value chain with the risk pools. And yeah, so I think there's plenty to do in the next 5 years, and I can't wait until we see more of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think first mover advantage is what's going to give you the monopoly on the market, or are there other factors that you think will ensure your success?
Yeah, so I think what I would like to have is more serious people in the blockchain space, which are working on real products, because we have a team of high-skilled professionals at Etherisc on each of these different areas, from insurance, actuarial services, technology, developing applications. We have the network with large partners in the space. But what I would like to have is people who try to adopt blockchain solutions for real-world applications, and that is still lacking. Yeah, so it's a similar situation like in 2020. Yeah, when remember what we had early 2020. Yeah, there was DeFi was already coined, the word of DeFi. But there were only a few projects which were actually developing a solution. Maker was one of the first, but there was no way to get loans on chain and so on. And then in 2020, we have seen a huge wave of new projects providing DeFi services. And my hope is that we would see the same development for the decentralized insurance space. So actually a huge number of projects which explore these opportunities for decentralized insurance and work independently on innovative solutions, more data, more oracles, and of course, we expect that Etherisc will play an important role in all these processes here. In the same way, like Maker was, for example, the pacemaker for the whole DeFi platforms, and we hope that the same what Maker was for the DeFi space, that Etherisc will be for the decentralized insurance space. So the pacemaker of this development. But of course, we need more than only a team of 20 people to develop all these solutions.
Yeah, 100%. That makes a lot of sense. I guess what my last future question I have is, like, what impact do you think these insurance protocols like Etherisc will have on society when we look back a decade from now? Basically, how do you think that they will change our world?
Yeah, I think the most impact we will have in countries which currently have no big market for insurance solution, especially for the ordinary people. So in these spaces, I think we will have the most impact. So maybe I've read this famous book of this Nobel Prize guy. I don't know his name, but I know the title of his book. It's called Poor Economics. And he discusses microinsurance. And in his book, he states that actually, from his point of view, microinsurance should be a success. But he also states that even if there are many attempts to bring microinsurance to the market, it has not been that successful in the last years, mainly because the processing costs are too high. And there is a trust issue. Yeah? People in developing countries, they have often a mistrust in the official agencies and organizations. And so I think we could solve both aspects. We could bring more efficiency to this market, and we could solve the trust issue. because everybody can see the state of his policy and the whole terms, and also see the real-time payouts. And this will change the situation dramatically. And so I think there is a big opportunity for us to provide real impact for society in these countries. And yeah, we will see. A lot of work still to do, and but we are optimistic that we will do this. And with AK Africa, we have very concrete signals that this strategy goes out very well.
Yeah, absolutely. This type of technology is going to be a really big game changer for a lot of individuals.
Exactly.
It's very, very exciting. Did receive a DM from Canuck asking if the DIP token is going to be listed on other DEXs other than Uniswap. Any plans for that?
Yeah, we are listed on Uniswap, on XDAI. Of course, we will also start talking to maybe if there is some interest to one of the larger centralized exchanges, because we always have said as soon as we have the live products, then we will also consider going on a larger exchange. So that will be sure something what we will consider in the next 6 months. But of course, you also know that it costs a lot of money to get on one of the larger exchanges, and we don't want to spend the money of our investors for paying fees for one of these exchanges. But it's a difficult decision to make. Yeah? And we are favorite of decentralized exchanges. We don't ignore the possible impact of centralized exchanges also on the project. This could also be a positive impact. And so we will probably discuss this in detail in the next few months and then make a decision. It's a decision which has to be made by the Decentralized Insurance Foundation, where I am the president of, but we have 5 other members in the foundation council. So there is a broad portfolio of different people with different standpoints, and so we need to come to a consensus on how to proceed here. We will certainly talk about it, yeah, that I can promise.
Awesome. Did want to be cognizant of your time. Are you open to having guests come on one at a time and ask you questions one-on-one, or how are we looking on time?
Yeah, we can go on.
Let's do it. If you guys want to request one at a time, I'll let you guys on. I do see we have Semper waiting for us. I'll let him on. Hey, Super, while he's connecting, do you want to just go over the tweet that you shared?
Oh, yeah, about him speaking at SmartCon?
Yeah.
Yes, I think that'll be super interesting to hear from you. And there's, I think it's 200 people speaking at SmartCon. So that'll be really interesting what you have to say there. Could you give us kind of like a brief overview, unless they have you like under an NDA, about what you're going to speak about?
Yes, I have not yet made a final decision on what to talk about. It will surely cover the field of oracles. Of course, it's a Chainlink conference, so I'm obliged to talk about oracles. So there's a lot to talk about, but I will try to give an overview on the work of Etherisc and the current state of the project as well. So I will cover AK Africa, I will cover flight delay, and I will cover risk pools. And of course, the focus of the talk will be how the Chainlink oracles will connect to all these different aspects of our platform.
Super interesting. Yeah, I'm excited to hear that. Semper, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, Christopher, I first want to say thank you so much for being willing to come on Base Space and answer questions, especially with the clarity that you have. I think a lot of project leads come on and they want to be vague with answers, and you have clarified so much and to truth, and I really appreciate that. I got a couple of just real quick questions. I don't necessarily look to take a lot of your time, but first of all, are the pools you're talking about, are those native to your platform, or are you looking to partner with a Bancor or a Uniswap for those?
I think these need to be native pools on our platform for a simple reason. Risk pools for insurance need to be deeply connected to the underlying risks, and these risks are insurance policy or are represented by insurance policies which have a starting and an end point. So we need to do an accounting of these risks in respect to the risk pool. So we need to always to be transparent on which risks are active, which risks have expired, which claims have been paid out. And this cannot be done by just adopting a standardized pool on Bancor or one of the other providers. Of course, there is a second layer. For example, you all know that most insurance companies just don't keep their money just on a dead bank account, but they invest their money. Yeah? So if the risk pools become large enough, then we probably need to think about investing these collected money in certain asset types. So I'm thinking, for example, of something like Melonport, or which is an automated asset management system, or something the like, where the assets of a risk pool would be reinvested and to increase the profit margin of the investors. And this is a very interesting area. And if you know Warren Buffett, then there is a famous quote of him where he says, during his lifetime, he earned most of his money by investing the float of his insurance companies. The float of an insurance company is actually the money which is not immediately needed for paying out losses or other costs. So typically, the float of an insurance company is a huge amount of money which needs to be invested, and it's actually free money. And on the other side, investors, of course, expect the maximum possible profit. And so reinvesting this collected money will be an important aspect of future risk pools. And that's also one reason why we want to keep the base layer of these risk pools in our own ecosystem, because then we have the option to design this whole process from scratch in a way which is in the best interest of our investors. So yeah, we will of course watch the space, and but as I said, for some fundamental reasons, the first layer will probably be our own implementation and not a standard product.
That's great. Thank you. Secondly, you mentioned the DIP token, and that your platform naturally is more of a development platform for other insurance entities to kind of develop products using. So if I understood correctly, is the DIP serving as kind of a licensing that they have to pay, or are they buying and staking that? What could you explain a little bit better what they're using the DIP token for and how it's required for them?
Yeah, the DIP token is actually like the asset what you stake to participate in the value chain. So you don't pay for participating, but you stake. So if you stop using this value chain, then you get your tokens back. So they are not lost. But as long as you profit from the platform, you need to lock your tokens or a part of the tokens. And by this, we create this demand for tokens, which is essential for the value of the token. And so maybe we will also charge a certain service fee. But our idea is, of course, that the central platform and the basic framework should be free of fees. Yeah, in the same way, like for example, Ethereum itself is free of fees. The only fees which exist on the Ethereum platform are the transaction fees, which are charged by the miners, which provide a certain service. But for example, if you deploy a smart contract, then you don't pay a fee for translating the smart contract, or for it's only the miner cost which you pay. And in the same way, we want to provide the platform itself, the basic infrastructure, the code, for free. And then people can decide if they want to charge a fee for the service they provide. But it will be always a service which is provided by, and that can be anybody. Yeah? So, of course, we will provide services, but also other parties can provide services. And then they can decide if they want to charge a fee or not. And I believe fees should only be charged for services which also add a certain value. And then it's also justified to charge a fee. But the basic platform should always be open and accessible, and not protected by some type of fee structure.
Okay, excellent. And then lastly, with Etherisc being a platform that others are developing insurance products for, I noticed on the website you have different products that are listed there, and it's my understanding that some of those aren't ones that you guys specifically developed and offered. With that being said, is this more like a white label type of service where they can solicit their own insurance through their own platforms with you as a back end, or are you also going to list such services on your website as Etherisc products? I ask from a liability perspective, should a project use your platform if it gets advertised as Etherisc and something goes awry with it? Would that bring down the credibility of your platform, knowing you had nothing to do with the actual execution of that particular insurance product?
Yes, of course. That's a very good point. Basically, we are building this open platform. Anybody can launch their products on the platform, but if I say anybody can, then of course that does not exclude that we do some due diligence. Yeah. For example, in my vision, the management of the platform, the platform itself, is not only code, but it's also deployed code. Yeah. So we are speaking of so-called GIF instances. Yeah, an instance of the GIF is a complete deployment of the smart contracts on a specific chain. For example, there's one deployment on XDAI, there could be a different deployment on Polygon, a third deployment on Ethereum mainnet. So these would then be different instances of the GIF. And on each instance, you can deploy an arbitrary number of different products from different parties. And in my vision, for each of these instances, there will be a DAO, so a decentralized autonomous organization, which is which consists of the product owners of the platform. Yeah, so imagine you have flight delay, hurricane insurance, crop insurance, and you would have three participants. These three participants would form a DAO, and this DAO would then take the responsibility to approve new products on this platform. And so they will guarantee that only products which are legit and which are, of course, compliant with some legal framework, that they will be launched, and there will not be any malicious products on the platform. And so that's the idea, to have DAOs, as we call it, instance operators. Yeah? An instance operator is an entity which is responsible for one GIF instance. And these instance operators should be DAOs, which control who is active on this specific instance and who take care that the reputation of the whole project is always maintained. So that's the idea. We will not. We hope that we can step back, and of course, in the beginning, we are taking the responsibility to give it a start. But in the same way, like for example, the Maker Foundation is gradually going back, or you have read about Shapeshift. Yeah, Shapeshift is also decentralizing their whole infrastructure. They are they, as a project initiators, they are stepping back step by step, and they are handing over the responsibility to the community. And that is something what we also want to do. So we want to give it a start. We want to launch it, but then as soon as the platform and the community is in a good shape, then we want to hand over the responsibility to these DAOs, and to go this final step to a real decentralized insurance platform.
Thank you, Christopher. And thank you, the Base Space team, for having him on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Sepper.
Thank you for coming on, Super.
What's going on, Socknug?
United States of America right now. I got a real quick and easy question for you, and it's just regarding what is Etherisc's largest regulatory concern in the United States?
One short sentence: the United States are difficult. It's so simple, yeah. It's difficult because you have 51 independent states which have their own insurance regulations, and if you want to apply for a license, then you have to apply for a license in each of these states, and that's actually a real tedious process, and we have currently no direct plans to go through this process. So we are more looking in legal frameworks which are more flexible. For example, we have this very nice framework in Germany where we can actually launch products without having an insurance license. This is great. It works in Germany, but it won't work in, for example, in the US. The people in Puerto Rico are doing a similar approach. We have another team in Hungary which is currently exploring this for flight delay. And so I think for each of these countries, you need a different approach. And actually, we are not the experts in the US. So insurance products based in the US are not very high on our agenda. And I think also comparing the possible merits of having such a license and the possible costs, which are huge, it's currently not a very good deal. So we are doing this in other markets, and which does not prohibit you to buy an insurance policy, for example, for flight delay. You as a US customer, you can of course buy a flight delay policy which is where the legal entity is based in Germany. That's no problem. What we cannot do, we cannot launch a huge distribution network in the United States. That's the only thing what's not possible currently. But there are other topics which we want to do. So currently, as I said, it's not so high on our priority.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So kind of just to lead into that question, just so even if someone was inclined to go state by state and get all the regulations in the United States to provide hurricane insurance for, say, the East Coast, you would say, like, at this point, the regulations and the hurdle is too high?
Yeah, at least for us, yeah. So maybe there are people in the US who have experience and connections. There are, for example, fronting companies in the US which provide licensing for products, and so we know there are ways to solve this problem, but maybe even on an affordable base. But we would need a specified team which has experience. So if you have any idea how this could be done, then we could of course support you on the technical side and with all these other stuff. But we would need a team which is based in the US and which would just take care of this and also have maybe the distribution network which is necessary to make this a success.
So that relationship would mirror something similar to Arbor Africa, you would say?
Exactly.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
really awesome. Well, that's really all the questions I got. Thank you for your hard work. Can't wait to stake my dip in the risk pools.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thanks for coming on, Socknug. Appreciate you, man. I don't have any other requests right now. And if anyone else has questions for Christoph while he's on, feel free to request. Give it a few seconds. Nope. Okay. Well, Christoph, really appreciate you taking the time out to come on the base space. This has been really informative. I personally learned a ton. I don't know about you, Chase and Super.
Yeah, it was great speaking to you. Thank you so much. I was feeling very honored that you invited me. It was great fun to talk to you and all these participants. Great questions. It's always nice for me to talk about it. And yeah, maybe we can continue this in the near future.
Of course. Thank you for taking your time out, and Base Space welcomes you anytime.
Okay. See you soon, and bye-bye.
See you, Christoph. Thanks to all the listeners. Appreciate you all taking the time out to come on and hear what we had to say. See you all later. Stay based.
Everybody stay based.
Stay based.
Thank you.